Now we're joined out of New York by Mr. Daniel Shaw, Latin American expert. Hello, Mr. Shaw, and thank you for joining us on the program. Now, your thoughts on how these new sanctions are going to, already hit an already a very impoverished people, a country that's already running on fumes.
Well, the United States has waged a relentless war against Venezuela since 1999, when the Bolivarian Revolution came into effect with Hugo Chavez's victory. It's been a relentless diplomatic, military, economic, and media offensive. Really, the strategy is a strategy of trying to stoke the flames internally within Venezuela and provoke an internal humanitarian crisis through sanctions and through sabotage. And of course, they've had the help of the Venezuelan elites, who again have never forgiven the Bolivarian Revolution for giving the people of Venezuela, 27 million people, dignity.
Right, so what does the U.S. want then? What's Washington's end game here, so to say?
The end game, whether it's Trump or Obama or Clinton, is to restore Venezuela to its former colonial status. Washington demands that the countries of the Caribbean and Latin America and the entire so-called global South be neo-colonies that they can control politically and economically. And when a country breaks free from this sphere of influence, like Cuba in 1959 and Nicaragua and Grenada in 1979, and more recently Ecuador, Bolivia, and Venezuela, they interpret this as an incredible threat that the people of the third world, of the exploited countries, can stand up and demand true, genuine self-determination. This is why there's a relentless U.S. war against Venezuela.
Now, doesn't Washington understand that people are hungry right now? There's no basic commodities on store shelves. I mean, the price of oil is down way farther than, Venezuela needs it to supplement and to stay, afloat. And yet, people are desperate. So by imposing more sanctions, it could actually ignite civil war in the country or something much, more sinister.
Oh, Washington understands 100%, and that is their intention. They want to see more inflation. They want to see more scarcity. They want to provoke more international migration. The same thing they've tried to do to Cuba by suffocating and isolating Cuba. So what we have in effect now is a blockade against Venezuela of military and economic proportions that's designed to do just that, to provoke a civil war. And then if the government defends itself, as any government, sovereign government would, then Trump has his alibi to go in and bomb strategic targets, just as they've done in Syria, just as they're threatening to do in the DPRK, or against any country in this world, like Libya, that has had a semblance of sovereignty in recent years.
Thank you for your input and for joining us, Mr. Daniel Shaw out of New York.